Hey everyone, and welcome to a different fantastic animation video. Today, with popular demand, we're going to talk about how I create 3D animation videos for TikTok. Before I start, I just want to say sorry for not uploading recently. If you happen to watch this video, then you'll understand my short absence. But production is starting to wrap up once again, so expect a new animated video very soon. Okay, with that said and done, let's get into my process. So to start off, the software that I use for my animations are 3D Max, and for my editing and compositing, I use Adobe After Effects. Just to be clear, this is what I prefer to use. This process could be used in any 3D or editing software you feel most comfortable with. Personally, if you want to use Maya, Blender, or any other 3D software, that is perfectly fine. So the first step on any TikTok video is to pick a sound. After picking a sound, the first hurdle is how do I get the sound from my phone into a 3D software so I can animate it. I found the best way to transfer the sound is to actually find the video that has a clip of the audio you like to use, download that video, take it into an editing software of your choice, and render out the WAV or MP3 of that video. I don't think there's a better way of doing this unless TikTok has a feature for you to download audio that I'm not aware of. So after that, I import the sound into my 3D software and adjust the time frame accordingly. Then I import the character into the scene and then create a camera. Warning, this is going to get a little technical, so please bear with me. After the camera is in the scene, I'll go into the settings, change up the output size to be in a phone format. Then I turn on save frame. This will help me visualize what will be on camera. With any new animators, I highly recommend you to always turn this on. It would really help you know what part of the animation is actually going to be in frame. Next, I'll go into the camera's parameters and select a 135mm lens. If you are using a smaller lens in this camera format, then you will have some warping effect. And if you go higher, the renders will just look flat. I will say play around with it and see what fits best with your style. But I personally find 135mm to be a perfect fit. To finish up the setup, I make sure that the frame rate is set to 12 frames per second. I animate on 12s for all my TikTok and YouTube videos because 1, it's less frames to animate, 2, less frames to render means less render time, and 3, I'll explain it when I get to the editing stage. So now that my scene is all set up, it's time to lay out my video. My layout process is nothing fancy. I have the characters standing straight and roughly position them where I want them throughout the video. After I'm satisfied with the results, I do a quick render and import them in After Effects. When you are rendering, I highly recommend you render out image sequence. Like this, if there's any chance your software crashes or stops rendering for any reason, which happens sometimes, or if something doesn't look right in a current amount of frames, you could actually select which frames you want to re-render without the need to re-render the whole animation. This will actually save you a lot of time if you need to re-render. To make my life a little bit easier, I already have a TikTok template set up with the same composition settings I have on my 3D software. So I import my render. Oh, just a little side note. If you are importing an image sequence, please check the editing software's import settings to see if the frame rate matches your animation frame rate. If it doesn't match up, then you'll get some weird results. Trust me, I learned the hard way. So yeah, moving forward, I'll take my renders and create a new composition for that render. I know a few of you might be asking, why didn't I put the render image in the current composition? But I'll explain why I do that later. Trust me, it'll make a lot of sense at the end. Then I'll go into the render composition settings and change the frame rate to 24. This is the third reason I mentioned before. When you play a 12 frames per second animation in a 24 frame video, your frames stay on screens for 2 frames. Basically what I like to call a 2D animation effect. I call it that because usually with 2D animations, they are animated on 2s. So each animated frames will stay on screen for 2 frames. So after I review the animation and I like what I see, then I go into my 3D software and start animating the video. So with my TikTok videos, I tend to do the lip sync first, then work on the body mechanics, and then I finish off with the eyes and eyebrows. This process helps me animate fairly quickly. I'm not saying it's the best process, but it works for me for this platform. I don't know, play around and see what process works for you best. After I'm fully happy on how my animations turned out, then I move on to the rendering. Usually with the TikTok videos, I tend to just render out 2 passes. I render out a diffuse pass, that's just a fancy way of saying a full color render. And I also render out an ambient occlusion pass, which is basically realistic shadows in the 3D space. Ambient occlusion takes a bit of a time to render, but it adds a really nice detail to the character. So when everything renders out, I'll take the renders and bring them into After Effects. In the render composition, I'll place the ambient occlusion pass on top of the diffuse pass. I change the ambient occlusion layer type as multiply and bring the opacity to 85. And bang! That's how I get the look for Fern. Then to complete the visuals, I add a random background, then move the background every time the camera cuts, just to give the illusion that the camera and the backgrounds are in the same space. Here's a little secret that I do to make the characters feel a bit more grounded in this background. I take a white solid image, scale it, and place it where the floor is supposed to be. I bring down the opacity and give it a blur. And for the final touch, I duplicate my diffuse pass, bring up the dark levels, scale it down, line it up with the feet, bring down the opacity, add a little blur, and there you have it, fake shadows. See what I did there? Making them grounded to the scene by adding a fake ground. Get it? Yeah, I agree. That was dumb. Now with the animations all set up, I take the render composition and bring it to the main composition. I add a null layer, link the render composition to the null, and use the null to create all the camera zooms and shape. When I'm happy how the video looks, then I'll bring the After Effects file into Encoder. I use my TikTok render settings and render out the video. Then I'll upload the video to TikTok and enjoy all the positive comments from you all. Well, that's how I create my TikTok videos. Hopefully this inspires a few of you to create your own 3D animation videos. And if you do, please tag me. I would love to see them. I just want to say thank you so much for checking out this video. Please consider subscribing and checking the notification bell. It will really help out this channel. Also, if you want to see the full animation process of this TikTok video, please check the video right here. Once again, thank you so much for supporting this channel and have a fantastic day. Later.